Well, it's 7 o'clock, so good evening, everyone. I'll just get my notes up. Uh, if you don't know, I'm Peter Bacon. I'm the MC or the host or something for tonight. So welcome to everyone for our final meeting for 2020. Let's hope 2021's, well, it could only be better than this year. Just a few housekeeping things before we start. If you haven't muted yourself, please mute yourself. It's the little button in the bottom left-hand corner. And as I mentioned to members last month, this is being recorded, the meeting, and it goes out onto YouTube. And I noticed that some of you understood that last month, and you've put makeup on this month, so you'll appear better when you go out onto the World Wide Web. So if you're hiding from anyone and don't wish to be seen on the World Wide Web, I suppose you should turn your camera off. But I'm sure you're all reputable and have no need for that sort of thing. Before I introduce our speakers, at the end of their presentation, we've got Stuart Grunnickley, who's going to be the Q&A man. If you have any questions that you, through the presentation that you'd like to, my phone's ringing, I hope the secretary gets it. Down the bottom of your screen, there's a chat button. If you click on that, a bar or a column will come up on the right hand side of your screen, and down the bottom you can type something in. So if you feel you've got a question of the speakers, if you type your question into there, or some people last month were making comments, just put it in there. Hopefully Stuart will see it and he'll be able to ask your question for you. It's very hard with a big audience to sort of find out who wishes to ask a question. So that's the best way we can do it. So tonight I'd like to introduce Cameron McKenzie and Angela Stubbs. They're from Aspire. Now, Aspire is a digital tool that supports a social business network across a region. As industries face the challenge of rising waste disposal costs and the pressure to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from excessive landfill, it is neither cost-effective, operationally efficient, nor socially responsible for companies to ignore the end of the impacts of unwanted resources. It is an online platform and marketplace that helps drive innovation in the transition to a circular economy in Australia. The Aspire program was launched online in November 2016 and continues to expand locally, interstate, and more recently globally, recently connecting to Hong Kong circular economy stakeholders. Angela, one of our speakers, has held a senior position in the City Economy and Innovation Department of Kingston Council for the past 10 years. Business sustainability and industrial symbiosis are a focus for her work with businesses in the Kingston municipality, which has a large manufacturing base. In 2014, she led a project team to establish a proof of concept for an innovative online waste materials exchange register, now called Aspire. Angela strives to bring companies from different industry sectors together to identify business opportunities that keep resources in the economy in a perpetual productive cycle that avoids waste and reduces business operating costs and supports the concept of the circular economy. In 2020, she launched the Circular Advantage online business education program, which is the focus of her presentation. Cameron McKenzie is the CEO of Aspire. Cameron started his career in construction and was always bothered by the amount of waste that this industry creates. He has several trade skills under his belt, including engineering and carpentry, but has also studied to acquire a master's degree in entrepreneurship. God, that's a hard word to say. I should have practiced that. And innovation, and holds an MBA. He is a winner of the Fillion Award for entrepreneurial excellence and worked closely with CSIRO and Kingston Council during the transition phase of moving Aspire out of CSIRO and into a new entity, an upgraded platform. He has now taken over the entity of Aspire and is leading it forward with a circular economy approach. So over to you, Angela and Cameron.
Thanks very much, Peter. And it's a great opportunity to be able to share with you what Cameron and I have been doing in the circular economy space and trying to reduce waste to landfill. So I'm just going to share my screen to give you a little bit of background to my role in Kingston Council and how this all came to be. So if you just bear with me while I open that up. So can you all see that on your screen now?
Yes, it looks good.
All good?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So the circular economy, you know, you may have heard this, it's becoming in the media a lot more common term, but it's a very hard thing to really display and describe all the ins and outs, but we're going to give it our best shot and link it to Aspire. So just about Kingston, in case you're not familiar with that council term, it's the region which covers 22 suburbs and it's 20 kilometres from Melbourne.
Yes, please, someone.
And it's quite a large industrial area. So I just thought I'd throw up some quick facts so that you've got a bit of a picture of exactly where I work and what that region is like. It has a resident population of around about 162,000 and it's got one of the state's main employment centres. It has a very large industrial sector which is mostly focused around Braeside, Mordialloc, Moorabbin. It's got an older area of industrial precincts and a newer one, but around about 15,000 plus businesses, and then we've got home office businesses as well. We have 70,000 plus people employed in those businesses and covering all those suburbs around the bay from Mordialloc, Moorabbin, right across to Carrum, Seaford, around that area. So what's my role? Well, I came from a manufacturing family, a plastic business manufacturing in Chelsea when I was a child. And I went on to have my own retail business and then into a corporate with Coles Myer and then on to some other small businesses before I joined the Kingston team. And my role really in Kingston Council is to make connections for business to information they need, to build networks and really to just be there to advocate for the businesses if they need connections with state government or federal government, and very importantly to promote local business to our residents and the wider community. And maintain jobs, that's really what we're trying to do. So this circular economy principle, we've in our business models mostly prior to the last 2 or 3 years operated in what we call a linear economy. And that is really, you know, you draw the raw materials out of the ground and it's a take and make and then waste tradition. And it is now really a bleak proposition to keep doing that. We just can't keep taking the amount of materials that are consumed by the global economy each year out of the resources we've got, because it's past 100 billion tonnes. And of this, only 8.6 is cycled back into the global economy. So this is a mammoth use of resources and it's unsustainable and it's really straining the planet. So what we want to do is be able to educate businesses around what they can strive to achieve in their own businesses. I'm just going to take it back here because I realise I have the timing in these slides. So you can see from this one that the circular economy model is designing out the waste and the pollution and trying to keep the products and the materials in use, and it tries to regenerate the natural systems. So a circular economy is going to allow us to collectively reimagine and redesign our systems so that we can realise an ecologically safe and socially just space for us all. So as we continue to navigate uncertain times after COVID, we need to reshape our systems to be resilient and to be ongoing to future shocks, because we just don't know what will be around the corner. Whether it's politics, such as the China trade issues, it really is quite a critical way that we need to look at things differently. So that's where this Circular Advantage system was born, and it is really just an education program for businesses of our time. And I was very fortunate to work with Hume Council and KPMG, who have Professor Valentine, who's come from Europe and has worked on introducing the circular economy to businesses over there. So we had quite a robust model that we could work with. We had intended to educate the businesses and raise their awareness of how to transition to circular economy face-to-face in workshops, but we had only just got participants putting up their hands saying they're interested. We did site visits to check out how ready they were, and then COVID came. So we could no longer have workshops. We had to transition this course that we had developed with Professor Valentine to an online portal. And we used all sorts of technologies. We had a Zoom-like workshop that we could do every Thursday afternoon. We had webinars, we had chat boxes. We used as much as we could to collaborate together. We had 22 businesses, half of them from Hume and half of them from Kingston. And they were everything from the Nestle, Simplots, down to the small business that was just under 5 employees. And we did an expression of interest with them, and we checked their readiness. We then went on site and had a look at how they were going, and we prepared the stages of the course. So what were our goals? It was really to raise their competency in understanding what the circular economy was all about. But at the same time, we wanted to get some short-term wins for them. We wanted them to be able to make a difference in their business, to not just survive COVID, but to move into recovery in a thriving state. By doing a roadmap, developing a different business model for how they could go forward was an integral part of what we wanted to do. And we also want to create case studies that we could then share with the wider business community. And this took quite some time for businesses to really understand how they could interact with each other online. We had a 6-month program, and they would come and work through weekly modules, which was self-paced, and then they would have their session online where they'd all come together and work on their roadmap. They had to do quite a lot of investigative work within their own company to talk to senior leadership, right down to the production lines. And by the time they got to November, and in fact, we've got our presentations tomorrow for those businesses putting up their roadmaps, they had really worked hard at optimizing their resources instead of just pulling them out of natural resources, using a lot of energy, and being able to really look from the start of production through to the end of life to determine how much waste they had, how much energy, water they were using, and how they might look at technology to make that improvement. Was their equipment being fully utilised? And were there people in their teams contributing the innovation and ideas that they could? And were they really maximising the use of their place of business? And that's where Aspire became a plug-in to the Circular Advantage program, because I'm going to leave Cameron to tell you more about how that works. Basically, it was helping the Circular Advantage people to look at their end of life, what byproducts and outputs were there, and were they going to be able to change that so they were reducing their waste to landfill. Just as an example of, and Cameron will go into this a little bit more, Kingston Council tried to walk the talk by saying, we've got a lot of polystyrene packaging that comes off our IT equipment. And so we put that on Aspire, and we had a local company who was grinding up polystyrene and mixing it with other materials to make a construction block. So a new building product that had an insular quality to it and that was lightweight but strong with all the other ingredients they mixed into it. So that was just one example of how a waste that we used to just pay to get taken away is actually now put into a new building product. Another business in Kingston, which is Enigma Clean, a large cleaning company, had a lot of plastic wrap film around their pallets, around their product that came in before they mixed it all together, a lot of plastic bottles. And they jumped onto Aspire, which is a software, and Cameron will explain that. And they were able to find another company that actually ground up the plastic, turned it into recyclable pellets. And instead of them paying to get their plastic film taken away, they're now, as you can see, reducing their waste to landfill by 75%. So for them, it was a way to show their customers that they were doing something strategic and worthwhile around the environment, but also saving them money as a business. So the Circular Advantage Roadmap was what we worked on with these companies, and we started down at number 1 to get them to really look at their resources and how could they perhaps use something different? How could they use recycled material into their production line instead of virgin material? So really reducing their waste. Then they would look at their process efficiency and the behavioural change that had to take place within their business. So a lot of times people were used to doing the same job on the production line, and they really needed to look at maybe there was some savings there. They had to be innovative, and so we introduced design thinking, which was really getting them to think outside the box in the way they made products and look at those sort of targets of how they could look for opportunities. Perhaps they could have a different way of servicing their customers. And then really then estimating, was it a return on investment? Was it a worthwhile initiative? Could it actually be realistic? And then working through all the hurdles that they needed to overcome in order to make their change in their business model a reasonable one, an efficient one, and one that would continue to be better for the environment. So, I'm going backwards instead of forwards. There we go. Just to finish off, I put up here what our vision was with this project, and it was really to make a fair and equitable and safe world where everyone can thrive in balance with the planet. And on the right-hand side, you can see what our final real terms about a circular economy are, that it needs to be regenerative and it needs to have a distributive economy that allows everyone to thrive, and a representative economy that gives everyone an empowerment to participate in it. So that's really a very quick summary overview, and I really look forward to being able to answer any of your questions. And I will hand back to you, Peter.
Thanks, Angela. You said Cameron was going to speak on a few matters. Does he wish to keep going, or and then we'll take questions at the end, if you're happy to do that, Cameron?
Yeah, perfectly fine, Peter. Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Angela, for for what you spoke about there. And it's it's really great to see that local government like Kingston, pretty much Knox. We've got Wyndham. We've got a lot more. We've got Hume on board. So so it's really good to see that local government are getting behind this. One thing like to make note is pretty much like the circular economy. It's I don't think it's anything really new. It's just a new phrase or a new thought around what everyone was doing 70, 80 years ago, I think, roughly, because up until pretty much the industrial age, everyone was using and repurposing and doing things quite well. I think it was just when the everyone sort of switched to the disposal mode, where everything's just gone a bit pear-shaped. But what I'll do to do a bit of an introduction to what Aspire is and what it's about in a couple of case studies, what I'll do is I'll play you a little 5-minute video now. There's a quick 2-minute video of just what Aspire is and a good little snapshot of that Casafenco case study that Anne just spoke about recently. So give me 1 second. I'll just I'll switch over and I'll play this video, and we can go to some questions after that. Let me know when you can see that. All good?
Sure.
Great.
We live in a world of endless consumption, of make, take, and throw away. But the time has come to rethink the process. Aspire is giving businesses a new way to solve their issues with waste. We've pioneered innovative software to create an online marketplace that trades waste as a resource. It's a matching service designed for businesses to exchange or purchase resources that would otherwise be discarded, because one business's trash can be another's treasure. Aspire's online platform sets businesses of any scale on the path to a circular economy and unlocks ways to save costs on waste disposal and even earn revenue from selling existing waste. The platform also helps to create new supply chains, connect businesses, build innovative solutions for reuse and recycling, and reduce the environmental impact of waste disposal. Aspire's matchmaking algorithm has connected hundreds of businesses to reuse, recycle, rethink, and repurpose their waste, creating cost savings, resolving issues surrounding waste, and diverting resources destined for landfill. Here's how it can work. A business, like a hotel group, becomes a member of Aspire. Aspire creates an account to suit that business. For a hotel group, that means different departments are set up to trade waste as a resource through the platform. Departments then upload their waste resources. Interested parties on the Aspire platform can connect, negotiate and arrange exchanges, and report on their progress for supporting the local circular economy to their customers, community, and shareholders. Aspire, empowering businesses to exchange waste as a resource.
To build a resilient world, we must go circular. Shift to the circular economy will reduce the world's greenhouse gases by 45% and add approximately $4.5 trillion to the world's economy. The National Waste Report came out in 2018. In there, it listed just a 5% shift in material efficiencies through Australia's economy will add $24 billion to Australia's GDP. Over the next 3 years, the price of sending resource to landfill is expected to triple. All those items actually going to landfill actually holds a sustainable amount of value to any business. It's all about creating the supply and the demand markets for them. Now, Aspire is a tool to help that transition and make it more real. We have over 400 businesses on Aspire at the moment that can exchange in over 180 different commodities that can be either sold, given away for free, or pay for disposal through the platform. We divert 45,000 tonnes per annum across those businesses, and we work from anything from organics to steels to metals to furniture to C&D and all C&I waste streams.
Here at Casafenco, we manufacture construction materials. We pride ourselves on the fact that our product contains at least 50% recycled material, diverting waste from landfill. Currently now, we are diverting 9 cubic metres of polystyrene waste per day. We've got 1.5 tonne of paper per day, and we've got about 2 tonne of glass per week that we divert. The Aspire program is a great tool because having the dashboard available to everyone in the business, we have a snapshot of how much we've diverted from landfill, what resources are available, how much we've taken in for that week or month. Aspire has opened us up to a community. So we've gotten in touch with councils and other local businesses that before Aspire we didn't even know existed. And we can then learn about their waste, because what we'd like to do is expand. So have a look at future waste streams and see how we can then use our chemistry to incorporate that waste to make new products or better products.
Whether your business in manufacturing, government or retail, we can help you find a sustainable option and move towards a circular economy. Doesn't matter what industry your business is in, we can always find someone that will match your resource. Incorporating Aspire into your business will help you create new revenue streams, lower your cost of waste services, as well as create jobs and stimulate innovation. Whatever you need at Aspire, we've got a very dedicated team here to help you so we can make your transition circular as smooth as possible.
Recently, what happened is we had run low on polystyrene. Our manufacturer, we weren't getting enough from them, and it was so easy to jump onto the Aspire program and have a look who else has waste. So I was able to get a resource in, and it just solved our issue. Like now we've just got another connection.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So yes, that's a good sort of background of what Aspire is and what it does. That video was taken a bit old. I think we're up around about 600 businesses now. Through innovation coming pretty much from Angela and CSIRO and Data 61. We've just recently launched in Tasmania, hence why I'm sitting in a hotel room now. If you haven't already guessed, I'm in sunny Launceston at the moment, just engaging with the several new council members I've got down here. I don't know if anyone's been down here, but it's a beautiful part of the world. And we've also recently just launched in Southeast Queensland. Again, things up there are going quite well. I think, Angela, I don't think I've told you this, but we had 22 businesses sign in a day, only a couple of days ago. So again, the gravity and that shift circular, I think, is really starting to take off. So again, we're starting to do some really, really awesome things. And, I'll open up to questions, but also too, we're due to launch the Aspire platform in Hong Kong, launch in January. So we're supposed to be October, but due to COVID, it's just pushed back. But again, that's just a testament to how behaviour is changing to be more sustainable. And I know that, Aspire originally come from Angela and a lot of things that she was doing locally. And that's a very proud moment for myself to take it internationally and to share Angela's vision to what we can do and for homegrown technology to do that. So, yeah, for sure. Any other questions? Want to open up? Ange, do you want to have a chat?
Okay. Look,
Yes,
perhaps at this point,
go ahead.
I can see a few questions are rolling in on the chat. First one is, does Aspire receive any government funding? That's probably one for Cameron, perhaps.
Well, we're Aspire subscription based, so we've got two different sort of ways that we generate revenue. We work a lot with local government, so a local government like Kingston LGA becomes a member, and with their membership, any business under 20 employees can use Aspire for free. So again, what it does is that it allows the council member like Kingston to work as that thought leader and that real driver of sustainability in the region. And again, that's one way that we can use local government guidance to drive that that change on the local and the community level.
Do you have any funding from state government or federal government?
No, we don't. It's just pretty much LGAs, like local government. We're purely revenue driven. We haven't, as Aspire as a commercial entity, we haven't received any state or federal funding. If anyone knows anyone, Scott Morrison, can tap on the shoulder to give us to put a good word in for us, please do so. But as I was saying, at the moment we're fully self-funded and we're just purely ran by subscription, and people want to do a good thing. Like again, like off the back of that, Andrew, I probably haven't told you this, but had a really good meeting with Rio Tinto today about getting in the mining industry. They're doing some really good stuff down here in Hobart, and they're looking to adopt that. So again, that's a really big adoption there. And obviously you can tell a lot of people really want to get to that point.
Yeah, that's great. And I certainly remember the days when we started the development of the software with CSIRO in sort of 2015, 16, moving into 2017. There were a lot of adaptations of the functionality. And then we needed, once we knew it all worked, we needed to take it out of CSIRO and give it its own entity so that it could really broaden, because it wasn't, CSIRO was not built to manage the ongoing promotion, marketing and managing of individual registrations. They were our consultants to build the software and the algorithms initially. And so Cameron put up his hand, and he was successful in taking Aspire out of CSIRO and into its own entity with Aspire Proprietary Limited, and then working with the team to be able to then broaden its reach, which he's done. But in terms of funding of how many doors from different government organisations, Sustainability Victoria, and it was just at the cusp of when the recycling issues were changing, and there was really no take up at that point. But in a way, it kind of allowed Cameron the freedom then, without constriction by government subsidies, to be able to broaden out the reach and go and do the walking and talking himself, which he's done.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been, it's early days bootstrapping an organisation like this. You know, it was always tough, but now we're, you know, we're slowly starting to see the light, and we're starting to, you know, get internationally recognised. Another thing I didn't mention before, but last year Aspire was runner up in the Banksy Awards, Banksy Sustainability Awards. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but it's the oldest sustainability awards in the world. We come runners up. So again, that's a very proud moment. And again, it's testament to Ange and what she's done. And again, late last year, we won the Australian Technologies competition. So it's the premier technology competition pretty much in APAC. Yeah, and we took that out again. So that's testament to, you know, Ange and her hard work for many years, but also about how behaviour is changing, you know, and people are actually thinking more about, you know, their kids' future and their grandkids' future rather than, you know, short-term thinking, blinkers on, like most of politicians these days. You know, they're really looking to do some really great things.
I really like the question there, or the comment. Aspire looks like a dating app for waste and resources. That's actually what our tagline was when we first started. I think we used to call it the Tinder for waste, and then we thought we better pull back and not use a brand name. But that virtually is, because whenever we talked with businesses, we would say, when you upload your resources, a picture tells 1,000 words. You need to put a photo up there as well of what those resources were. So it makes me laugh when you recognise it is like a dating app for waste.
Yeah, absolutely right, Ange. I describe it as Tinder for waste all the time. I dare say there's probably a fair few people on this call who's probably had their day on Tinder, I'm tipping. But yeah, but it's a quick win, and everyone seems to get it pretty quickly as soon as you understand that it's, yeah, it's pretty much like a dating service.
There's another question here, Angela and Cameron. What is the weirdest match of materials that you've come across to date? The strangest materials.
Dan, do you want to have a go at this, or? Nah.
Yeah. I think probably, well, there's, yeah, the one that when they said, we've got garnet suspended in water. Can you do anything with that? Ground garnet, so like a gemstone garnet. And, you know, I sort of shook my head and said, oh, that's a hard one. I'm not too sure. But it turned out that a rendering company was really looking for an alternative to the product that they were putting in their render, because whatever it was they were using before, in time, it would have a rust-like effect on the render. Whereas garnet, being it was hard and it also wouldn't rust. So that was a bit of a tricky one. We also had, Kingston Council had a problem with a very high tide one time, and we had huge excess of seaweed on the beach. And our Parks and Gardens guys said, I don't suppose you've got anyone who could use seaweed, have you? Company, she's larva, and it's a little insect that grows and develops a larva that dries, the pupa drops off it, and it's used for feed for livestock and also as fertilizer. And she used the seaweed to organically feed the black fly larva. So yeah, we've had some pretty obscure ones.
Very strange. Well, in amongst all of this, are there companies that, and I imagine there are, but what sort of materials you can't find a home for? Is there anything that stands out as a particular material that nobody's found a use for yet?
I'll take this one, Ange. Not really at the moment. It's more about education around what actually is in the product more than anything, because a lot of the like if something goes up or it's very vague or something along those lines, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard for the algorithm or that to actually find a home. But if you actually dig a bit deeper and find out what the major composite is or what's in it, we tend to be able to find someone or something along those lines. But again, all that sort of comes around education around what the product is and what they want to do. But again, like if you get like a trailer load worth of asbestos, dirt, bricks, or whatever, and you list it on Aspire, no one's going to want it. So it's all about trying to help the businesses realise the value in items like that. Or someone might want it, but they'll pay to take it rather than to buy it or take it as a neutral cost. So again, there's a lot of education around that aspect, and unfortunately, how industry works now, it's they try to subcontract out or contract out all that risk and all that. But now that you'll find the world's changing a lot quicker, and when it comes to disposal of goods, they've got to be a little bit more conscious about the end game and where it's going to go. I see a question there regarding Twiggy Forrest. Whoever put that in. If someone's got his number, please give it to me. He's in Perth. It's still pretty early. I'll give him a call. Even his email will do me. It's okay. I'll make sure that I'll follow him up.
There's another question here. Is vinyl, I presume polyvinyl, in demand, or is it unwanted? Does anybody collect vinyl?
Yeah. There's an Australian vinyl company. We're in discussions with them at the moment, and they've got about 50 members. But again, I've spoken to a couple of people who want that vinyl product. So again, it's the supply versus demand. As soon as we see something or a good quantity or an aggregation of a product on the platform, it gives us a good driver to go find a sustainable home for them. But at the end of the day, we're not trying to be a broker. Like, we don't collect a ticket. We're not commission based. We're not trying to stop people from working off the platform. We're purely subscription. So as soon as you get on board, we want to see the benefits from it. I was speaking to a council down here, and they've got a big textiles problem, a big problem down here. And they want to find a sustainable home for it. And I know that someone in Melbourne can take it and a few others. And I'll put them together, no problem. We'll make that connection. We'll do that manually a bit at the start. And he said to me, he goes, you know, what do you get out of it? I go, one, we've got resources going through the platform. We can actually collect that information on how successful the platform goes, and that's worth more than anything.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we've got in Kingston, Armstrong Flooring are the only vinyl flooring company that are manufacturing flooring in Australia. And they're really looking to be as innovative as they can, where they take up their old vinyl flooring after many years' use, bring it back to the site in Braeside, and they're actually looking to incorporate a certain amount of that resource back into the new flooring with new ingredients in it. So, you know, there's certainly new technologies and new ways of making product by bringing back the end of life of that product into the new production.
Okay, I had a question from much earlier, and I think you've answered this in essence. Can you give advice on effectively disposing of broken precast concrete from a precast concrete manufacturing facility? So is there anybody you know of out there that would accept broken precast concrete from the manufacturer of that material?
I'm pretty sure like that there will be someone on there. Or probably maybe like a concrete remanufacturer or a construction company. But the beauty about, well, I saw Concrete Move the other day, so I'm tipping there is, without giving away our privacy policy or getting myself into trouble, especially if we're on YouTube. I've got to be very careful about that. But the best thing about Aspire is it doesn't necessarily go to a recycler or someone who did.
Yes. Oh, I think we've lost Cameron.
Tasmania is a little far away.
Yes, well, maybe somebody's cut the cable.
There he is.
Yeah.
Is that better? Apologise. I think.
Yeah, you disappeared for a moment.
I think probably a boat dragged across the cable from Bass Strait, maybe upripped it, who knows, but I'm back now. But yeah, like the thing about Aspire is, you know, we abide by the waste hierarchy, so it's reuse, repurpose. It's not about downcycling those products. You know, it's all about trying to industrial symbiosis, which you spoke about earlier. So what that's about is one business excess waste or excess resource goes direct to feedstock into another. And that's what we're trying to do. And that was always been Ange's goal, I think, and one of your directives, wasn't it, Ange? And that's what we've always done. When it comes to recycling or waste to energy, yes, there's a purpose for it, but it's only a small part of what we're trying to do as that big sustainability drive.
Okay, so you've got, well, it sounds like you've got Tasmania interested. You've certainly got Victoria interested and Southeast Queensland, but what about the other states? Are you working on those, Cameron? Or Angela, for that matter?
Yeah, Stuart, I'm always like, obviously COVID, we got locked down for a little while, but I think I'll be barely home for the next 12 months. Probably pre-COVID, I was lined up to go to Perth. We were supposed to launch there. We had a really reliable launch partner that we're going to run a pilot with. They've got over 1,000 locations in Australia, which we're going to run a pilot with. But obviously, with the border restrictions over in Perth, hopefully we should be able to go over there in the new year and see if we can kick that off again. Again, another thing too, Andrew, probably didn't tell you, I had a meeting with the Australian Netherlands Chamber of Commerce last week. And if anyone knows anything about Netherlands and Holland, they're very forward thinking when it comes to sustainability. And yeah, we gave them a quick demo and they said this is a very quick win because they're the biggest sort of thing we get in Australia is the behaviour change. You know, typical Australian, if you ask them or tell them to do something, they'll pretty much tell you to go away. So, but you go over there where that behaviour change is already there, they're looking at technology, they're looking at ways they can think that way quicker. So, you know, I've been ongoing conversations for about 12 months with Switzerland now. They're pretty interested in taking it there, but unfortunately there's only one camp and there's only so much I can do. So, but yeah, it's all baby steps and we want to make sure that we scale correctly.
Can you tell us something about the Hong Kong connection? How was that actually made? If we can ask.
Again, that sort of come from the Australian. Yeah, no, you can. I can't give away exact names at the moment. Hopefully pretty soon we can, but again, it's we just got to be, I can tell you we're going there, we're launching. If you're a detective, you could probably look through a few posts and see who that was, but I can't technically announce it. But last year when we won the Australian Technologies competition, one of the judges heads up, he's the MD of the innovation of this organisation. Their head office is in Hong Kong. They've got footprints in mainland China, India, Singapore, Indonesia. They're one of the biggest utilities in Australia. So if you're a good detective hat on, you probably would try to work that out. But yeah, but basically when we won the Australian Technologies competition, yeah, we really impressed that guy end of the day. And they're always looking to be innovative and they've got a big drive to be sustainable, corporate sustainability. And I think right place, right time, spoke the right language. I think he saw the passion that we're trying to do. And, you know, obviously coming from local government, CSIRO, Data 61, we're evolving, a lot of potential. Went from there. We just, after speaking to this guy for about 5 minutes, I didn't even know who he was. He was just some tall guy that spoke in a weird language, and yeah, and that was it. Before you know it, we're launching in Hong Kong, and you know it's leaps and strides, isn't it, Ange? We're doing all right.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, Cam, there's a question about what does a subscription provide to a business? So maybe you could just outline, you know, when somebody signs up as an individual.
Yep, no worries. Well, there's different tiers of memberships, but as soon as a business signs, they get obviously a 12-month subscription. They get technical support, depends where they are in their business. They can get marketing or sales support, depends on the level. They get EDMs, any hand-holding through the process. And there's webinars that we run. There's notifications and like co-branding, so they get to go on the website. We give them labels, certification. We quantify their sustainable goals. So how many like tons diverted from landfill, CO2 emission savings, how much money they're actually making or diverting from it. So the economic benefit. So yeah, there's all different ways that you know, a part of being, you know, on Aspire can, you know, for one, it can start their journey towards circular, but also they can be a thought leader in their industry.
That's good. Okay, as well as looking overseas, what about other Victorian councils? You mentioned Hume, Kingston, of course, Knox and Wyndham, but there are many other councils in Victoria. What sort of interest are the rest of the councils showing? Because many of our members would be living not in Kingston, all the way around Melbourne and other places.
Yeah, well, we're doing quite well. When CSIRO was sort of running Aspire, we had probably 11 councils down Geelong Way. They were a part of it. They opted out for the year out, and they're pretty interested in getting back on board, which is great because I think there's about 70 odd businesses down there that aren't getting any support. We can't do that because, you know, we haven't cut them off. We're allowed to be a part of a part of Aspire, but you know, it's up to them. But also, I think looking at our pipeline for 2021, I think there's about 8 or 9 Victorian councils getting on board. without giving too much away. It's from probably the Yarra Ranges right into pretty much the city of Yarra, down that strip there. You know, we're constant conversations with a lot of councils, but again, that's not our sort of main driver. And as Ange knows, every they're very diverse and very different, their own little beast, and they've got their own drivers and pushes and directives, and you know, it's just it's a tier of government that, from my eyes, I don't reckon they get that much support from state government. They get a lot of the push to do the right thing, but the state government always wants to take the credit. So again, there's always that battle between who gets the recognition from it. So, you know, it's, you know, I had a conversation with, it was Noosa Council today about joining, and they're about, like, what does the state government get out of it? And I said, only what you want to give them. So, yeah. Then we speak to state government again about, and then they want to see the data that Aspire creates and collects, especially the snapshots we can get. And again, it's, you know, I understand it's very important to them, but it's not really theirs. You know what I mean? So it's really the local government. So if they want to see that, for one, I've got to ask the LGAs, but I'd rather for them to subsidise them for the next, or subsidise the rest of the state if they want to see that data. So that's the way that we're trying to drive it. You know,
and I think too that, you know, historically, councils have been primarily focused on their resident community, and whilst they provide waste service for the residents, the economic development departments in council are relatively small, and they tend to have a view that, you know, a commercial enterprise, a business, can really stand on its own 2 feet, and there are other government subsidies for business. And it's only really more recently that there's a recognition that whilst we provide business services, council does need to have a role in making sure that local economies are maintaining jobs for their residents and are growing and expanding. And, you know, prior to COVID, they were tight on their budgets and where they allocated their council budgets. And after COVID, we've already had cutbacks in budgetary spend for local councils. So for a council to sign up to Aspire, they need to be able to approve through their council subscription fee for the setup and the establishment. And then they need to have dedicated people within their team who can then talk to the businesses and promote it to the businesses and be an assistance for them to really maximise the potential of it. So it takes a little while for councils to be informed and educated about the benefits and how they need to support their business community as well as their residential community.
So with that in mind, looking at Kingston, what percentage of the 15,000 odd companies in Kingston would actually be involved currently in Aspire?
Well, most of our businesses have less than 5 employees.
Mm-hmm.
We tend not to focus so much on the Vizzies, the Coca-Colas, the larger businesses, because they have a lot of their own operations. So in the time that Cameron took it on, was it 2018, Cam?
Oh, yeah, late and early.
Yeah, 2019. It's only really had a chance to blossom now, and so we have a percentage, I don't know what percentage, a smaller percentage of the number of businesses that we've got in the area, but that includes a lot of commercial businesses that are in health and, you know, engineering, accounting. It's mostly the manufacturing businesses that we have targeted, and they're the ones that have come on board as soon as they've recognised, yes, they have outputs and therefore it's relevant for them.
So how many businesses like that would be actively involved in the exchange of materials currently?
Look, it's growing all the time, and yeah, it's something that we monitor. We just keep promoting it to them. Sometimes you'll get, because it's an individual email that gets registered, you have to then get somebody else to sign on. That person will move off, and you need to get a new email attached to the registration. So it's something we constantly keep working at.
Okay.
I think from conception, Ange, I think you've had about maybe 60 or maybe 65 businesses from Kingston join.
I think when we first started, and it's been increasing since then. Yeah.
So that's quite significant.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, and it's but also too, like a good way of putting like a platform like Aspire. It's sort of like everyone's got an eBay account, but not everyone uses eBay every day. So some people might use it once a month. And the thing is, with the 500-600 businesses we've got now, like a lot of them are passive, but majority of them are active. So again, it's how they embed it and what streams that they've got. Some people use it some people use it once a week and they absolutely love it. Some use it once a month, absolutely love it. One use it every 3 months and absolutely love it, but they use it when they need it. And that's what we want. It's all about those long, ongoing relationships that we're trying to build, and we're doing quite well with it. Like diverting over 45,000 tonnes with a landfill per annum, it's nothing to sneeze at. It's a bloody lot. Right. So excuse my French, guys, but yeah, we're trying to build that even more, especially launching in Tasmania and southeast Queensland. That's expected to pretty much quadruple over the next 12 months. Even that it's nothing to sneeze at. We're trying to create impact, and that's, I think, what we're doing. And it's always been Andrew's goal, and it's still been mine, and we'll continue to do it as long as Aspire's alive and kicking.
Just looking down the chat column.
I see a question there about curbside recycling. Yeah, we don't touch municipal waste. We're all about commercial, industrial, or C&D waste. In 2018, the National Waste Report came out and it said 80% of waste generated in Australia comes from commercial and industrial. So that's our main focus, and that's we're going to be pushing to for a while now.
Somebody's asked here, is it true you have a partner that makes 3D printing ink? 3D printing ink.
Do you know about that one, Cam?
We really need to know the person that's put the chat up.
Yeah, I'm not
elaborate.
100%.
Oh, it was me. Does it not say who puts the chat up?
Well, yeah, it's right. It was.
Yep.
Yep. MelbPC user group too.
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's Kirsten.
Yeah, I know when it comes to 3D printing, I'm not quite sure if they call it like ink, but what they do is they've got like palletized, but it's pretty much the input they need. I know that there's a couple of organisations on Aspire that collect soft plastics, PET, and they palletize it. I'm not quite sure if they turn it into 3D printer ink, but 3D printer feedstock. But it's one of the purposes they get. I actually had an organisation from Hong Kong reach out, Ange, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they need, I think it's about 3,000 tonnes worth of palletised PET a month. And I'm pretty sure I know someone in the platform that can get that. So it's a really great connection there, and that's really going to drive the tonnage through the platform. So
yeah.
It looks like we might be just about exhausting the questions. So if anybody out there, any members out there have a question. We have here, is that you again, Kirsten? What's the funniest thing that happened?
Oh, Ange, I'll let you talk about this. Right. I've got plenty. I think it's I don't think it's not appropriate for YouTube. So but, yeah, I've got to tone it down maybe.
Well, this is not particularly funny, but I don't think really, but I had one business that he makes the most beautiful picture frames out of recycled timber. And I thought, oh, perfect. This will be great for this business to get onto Aspire. And we've got window makers who've got wooden offcuts, and oh, he should be right for getting all this material. And when I caught up with him a few months later, I said, you know, how's it going? You're using lots of recycled timber? And he said, oh, yeah, I've got, you know, pretty good supply of that. But what I've got out of Aspire is my recycled cardboard, that I now no longer have to buy cardboard because I sell a lot of my picture frames online, and I'm always having to package them up with cardboard. So, you know, I thought I was doing a great job of telling him how Aspire would give him timber, and he had a totally different view of, no, I just need the cardboard and I just need it to package and send it all offline with my commercial enterprise. So you never know what a user's going to pick up on Aspire.
Yeah, that's a very good example of people reprocessing, rethinking how they do things as you are promoting. So that's a great
exactly
example. And one of the most inspiring things is the question here.
Well, I think when it comes to inspiring, it's pretty much, it's a transaction or an exchange from industry to industry. So the other day I saw one from manufacturing to like education to a school, or you know, you get retail and school to manufacturing all the time. But when it goes the other way, it's good to see that people are looking at it with a different lens. I saw one the other day from manufacturing to retail. Well, again, I was just blown away. Like, that basically they're looking at it for, like, that's where the innovation sets in. And once they get a sniff of what they can do on Aspire, it's like take the saddle off the stallion. You just let the business go and just let it do its part.
Yeah, I thought it was great to see a wooden staircase manufacturer providing wooden offcuts to men's sheds so that they could actually make things out of those. You know, it was it's really good to see schools using pallets for making compost frames for their community gardens. So all those kind of uses. We had a furniture fabric producer where they had lots of swatches of material, and she didn't want to throw them out. She thought, look, you know, these are probably could be used by someone. And there was a local community women's group that was making craft and gift products and trying to develop a revenue stream. And so they were using these swatches of material to make all sorts of arts and crafts out of it. So, you know, there are always lots of stories where there'll be one-offs, but it really is meaningful to someone.
That's good. And another question, what give us an instant of something with the largest monetary value?
Oh, good question. You always get like a lot of steels and metals. Electrical cables pretty high because you know you can trade. I find that it's quite a chain exchange a lot on Aspire is like timber pallets. I think you know they're. I think we just had a business down here. I saw that they've got 2 ways, which is great. They're like a social enterprise down here where they employ a lot of disadvantaged Tasmanians, and what they do is they collect a lot of pallets, they repair them, and they sell them. So they're 2-way street. So they use it for both supply and demand. So they get all the pallets from the area. They go to their factory, and they've got some individuals down there that repair them or do what they want. They paint them, and it's a really good influx of cash flow for the business. But again, then they can post them and sell them. So again, that's, you know, it's low value, but it's high when it comes through that business. You know, if we can improve their the influx, and they can employ one more person, well, then I can, you know, I'm a happy cam. You know, it lets me go. I'm pretty happy with that. So it's all about employment and economic development and the social side of it.
Yep, that's wonderful. I think we're coming towards the end of the session. So I'd like to thank you, Cameron and Angela, for coming on and presenting your take on Aspire and getting into the circular economy, because that's something that's certainly it's gaining traction around the world, and hopefully Aspire will be taking on a lot of that. And I notice, sorry, there's another question come in. Can you, and probably this would be one for Cameron, I'm not sure, but something about the technical details of the actual software used for Aspire. Can you enlighten us on the background to that?
Yeah, it's sort of off the shelf technology to a part of it. There's the algorithm inside, which is quite it's IP protected, but the front end of it's built on Angular 8, which is you know, a quite an intuitive sort of front end of it, so how people navigate it. And on the back end of it, it's called .NET Core, which again, it's state of the art. And what that does, it allows us to extract information as much as we can. And it sits in the cloud. So it sits in AWS, Amazon Web Services. So it sits there, does quite a handy job. But the best thing with that is it can scale with the bandwidth that we need. So, and when we deploy into new regions, it can, you know, there's no issues with data security or anything like that. So the tech stack, we call it. I'm not technical. I'm as technical as the shoes I'm wearing. So, but when it comes to describing what the technology does, I can very high level. Don't ask too many hairy questions, because I'll probably won't be on the call for much longer. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Cameron. Thanks, Angela. I'll hand back to Peter now. He may have some more thank yous to hand out. Over to you, Peter.
Thanks, Stuart. Look, Cameron and Angela, I found that extremely interesting. I loved the bit in the video, and I've written it down, Enigma Clear, that we're throwing out all these, you know, heavy plastic well, bags or whatever they were, wrappings, and you know, there was someone that was looking for some cheap material, and they married together, and you know, great resource. So what became, it's like everything, someone's rubbish is someone else's treasure. It's an old saying, but very interesting. And I suppose in my old age, it's not much I can do for the planet except look after the planet for my grandkids and my great-grandchildren. You know, it always worries me when I put all that stuff in the recycle bin that it doesn't end up in the tip anyway, but it's good to see that some of it's been recycled, and I think it's a great organisation that you've got there. Now, normally I contacted the treasurer and said, look, I'm emceeing the meeting tonight, and we've got 2 guest speakers, and I'd like to make a small presentation. And he said, well, yes, look, I can allocate $20 towards that. And I thought, well, good, I'll buy 2 $10 bottles of wine. Normally I contract my wine orders out of China. So I contacted my agent today, and he said, well, that $10 bottle of wine's now $31.20 with the tariffs that China's put on. So I didn't dare like to go to the Treasurer and ask him for an increase. So all I can say is thank you very much. I've certainly enjoyed your presentation. I think everyone else did, and I certainly got a lot out of it. So thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, team, and thanks for having me. Thanks for listening to the story about Aspire. Thank you.
Thanks. Now for the members, you'll notice that Stuart Grunnickley sort of was the Q&A man. If you've got a talent for that sort of thing, contact Kirsten. Maybe Kirsten can put her email address up on the chat somewhere, and she can sort through all the replies and pick someone. But it's you can see how well it works. It helps a lot if the members put their questions up. There it is, kgreed@melbpc.org.au. So you won't have to do it this year, but it's just a part of the program that we have the guest speakers on, and just someone to ask the questions and probe a bit further and maybe find something. I'm sure out of the 70 odd members that are online tonight, there's one of you that can do it. So just let Kirsten know. Now, just before the break, I just wish to tell you about this very distraught senior citizen. She phoned her doctor's office and she said, is it true, she wanted to know, that the medication you prescribed has to be taken for the rest of my life? Yes, I'm afraid so, the doctor told her. There was a moment of silence before the senior lady replied, I'm wondering then, just how serious is my condition, because this prescription is marked no repeats. So with that, it's now 11 minutes past 8. We'll knock off for 5 minutes, which makes it 8:16, and then we'll reconvene. So you can have a cup of coffee or that in the 5 minutes, and we'll see you back soon. Thanks. It's turned up. I see you sitting there between, looks like two 3D printing cables you've got there, David. But anyway, over to our president, David Stoney Gibson, to give us his report on how the club's going. Over to you, David.
Okay, thank you. Well, first thing I have to report, I think 5 minutes is too short. I barely had time to make a cup of tea and attend to a couple of other pressing matters, so excuse me. Okay, my report for November. Good news, isn't it? We're finally starting to reopen the club again. So I'm quite delighted. In fact, on Saturday, we're having our very first in-person meeting at Moorabbin for the microcontroller shop. We have to limit it to 20 people, so we're not sort of opening it up to non-members or anything like that. So feel exclusive little get-together this time. But any SIGs that want to start using Moorabbin again are welcome to do so. But we do ask that you report to the office about a week, 5 days or so beforehand, so we can be sure we don't wind up with any conflicts. And there's going to be a maximum of about 20 people in any one room at any one time. If you're a SIG that's not at Moorabbin, you have to comply with whatever rules the owner of the property you use applies. I heard of one SIG who'd been told that if they hold their meetings, they have to wipe down every chair and every surface and all sorts of things like that. I see John nodding there. So I think, was it one of your SIGs, John?
Yeah, that was East SIG.
Yeah, that was sort of a little bit over the top. We have at Moorabbin, we do have a clipboard to sign in on, and it's important to sign in on that and leave your phone number. So that if in the unlikely and hopefully won't occur event that we have to do some tracing, it's quick and easy to trace people who've been in the place at that particular time. So that's really it for the reopening. The clubroom transformation is continuing. The lounge has now been effectively stripped back to bare walls with a few PowerPoints on it, and the wall out of the atrium is now a nice window, so there's lots of beautiful sunlight coming in. One side effect of that is all the computers, the specialized computers in that area, have been removed and stowed away for the time being. That's not to remove facilities from you, but if you do want to use any of those things again, please give us plenty of warning, several days at least, and then we will restore whatever it is that you want in some other area. But bearing in mind, we're very, very reluctant really to have anyone use computers in the club rooms at the moment because of the surface contamination consideration. But we're not sort of trying to deny you access. It's just a byproduct of the process we're going through there. Some rather good news. A couple of days ago, I phoned JCAR to organize some tools for the maker room, which is sort of went on the back burner during the COVID. And at the same day, got a new manager at the Cheltenham branch, and I brought up the issue of our member discount, which had fallen a bit of a crack. And the very pleasant young man, I think his name was Craig, says, yes, we can fix that for you. So now we do have a discount for all members at JCAR lined up. All you need to do to take advantage of that is show your membership card, MelbPC membership card, and quote our account number, which I'm not going to read out over here on here at the moment, but it will be in the newsletter that I think Hugh is about to launch. Are you there, Hugh? Are you close with the newsletter?
Yes, newsletter should be out by the weekend.
Yeah, there you go. So the code will be in the newsletter. The amount of discount that it seems to be is somewhat less than I had thought, but it is what it is. So it is a discount. It's maybe not as big as I thought it was going to be. I had a lovely email the other day from one of the ladies at the Australian Seniors Computer Club Association, or SCCA. They started running a series of courses in November, computer related courses, which I put out to our members. And the result of that is that MelbPC basically almost overflooded them with attendees. We were definitely the biggest contingent of the courses. So they had to start sort of applying rationing and scheduling to a small extent. But 59 of our members attended courses at ASCCA in November. And so far, when she sent me the email a couple of days ago, 49 have applied for December courses. And that's sort of computer related things. I won't say specifically what they are, but there's sort of traditional computer related courses. So that's been quite a successful program, that one, I think. Talking of successful programs, the migration of members over to Google Workspace is continuing. It is turning out to be quite a slow process. I had a chat with Harry, who's the sort of representing iHelp on that, and it's turning out that sorry, I'll start again on that. About 40% of the members who depend very much on the MelbPC email address have so far been migrated successfully. There's been no emails lost, which I think is good. No emails were damaged in the course of this transition. And priority is being given to those members who use the MelbPC email as their primary email system. Of course, a lot of members were initially joined up because of that service. The iHelp team, for those members who are not able to sort out their own transition issues, if there are any glitches, it takes an iHelp team member approximately typically 1 hour to help out one single member. So you can imagine that with that load on iHelp, it's going to be a slow and laborious process, but it is moving forward quite steadily. The feedback so far from members has been about 95% favourable. So I think they're doing pretty well. And if anyone on the transition team is here, I know Hugh is here. Big thank you and congratulations to you for a job well done that turned out maybe to be a little bit, yes, thank you, John, a little bit more than we initially thought, but it's just something that just had to be done before a great big load of something fell on us from the sky over in Silicon Valley. And finally, in a little while, George Scarbeck is going to be doing his What's New segment, which will be the last What's New segment from George Scarbeck. So I think we should all put our hands together when let's let him do it first, then we all put our hands together and give him the clap he so richly deserves for doing that for 5 years. As of the conclusion of this meeting, there will be a vacancy available for anyone who wishes to take over the What's New segment, who I believe will receive some tutelage from George before they're left on their own. So with that, it's thank you for me and goodbye from him. The end.
Thanks, David, for letting the members know what's going on in the space, and probably quite a few of us will be interested to go back and see what the insides of the building look like after 9 months of being absent. Okay, so you've heard what David's had to say about George's been imparting his knowledge of what's new for the last 5 years. I think a month or so back, he reviewed some of his mentions of what was news going to happen. So George, tell us what's going to happen in 2021 in the What's New department.
Okay, folks, I'll start with what's new and I'll finish with what's old. I know some people may have had a little bit too much to drink at odd times, and a scientist found that hyperventilation can clear alcohol from your system very much faster. It's a proof of concept study showing a cheap and surprising simple and extremely low-tech way to reduce blood alcohol levels. And it shows that hyperventilation can triple the rate of alcohol eliminated from the body. So if you're just over 0.05 and don't want to wait an hour or two, there's hope. Our liver is fundamentally responsible for clearing the alcohol out of the system. However, the clearance by the liver, I haven't been drinking all that much. You see, I've still got some left. Read. Anyway, it's fairly constant regardless of the alcohol levels, and sometimes can leave individuals in a precariously toxic positions where they've consumed too much alcohol too quickly. Canadian research look at the lungs to speed up the ability to clear alcohol. And for about a century, it's been known that ethanol and other compounds are exhaled from the breath. So he thought hyperventilation would be a good way to accelerate it. Now, you can't just hyperventilate indefinitely because after a minute or two, you get too lightheaded and pass out. Reason is we get rid of too much carbon dioxide from the blood and can be replaced. So he developed a device called ClearMate. This invention delivers a mixture of carbon dioxide and oxygen, allowing hyperventilation without any side effects. It is a very basic, low-tech device, can be made anywhere. No electronics, no computers, no filters are required. And the inventor said it's inexplicable why they didn't try it decades ago. So that's what's coming soon. Now, a group of scientists in Australia have produced diamonds in minutes in room temperature. Now, that's no mean feat. Natural diamonds are formed over billions of years at great depth under the earth, high temperatures and pressures above 1,000 degrees Celsius. Now, these scientists managed to produce diamonds in minutes. And the breakthrough is led by scientists at the Australian National University, ANU, and RMIT, used extreme pressures to generate these ultra-hard minerals. And without going into details, also provide a shear, which allows the carbon atoms to move into place and form something called longsteinite. Longsteinite diamonds are usually found at meteor impact sites and about 60% harder than regular diamonds. And this material, longsteinite, has a potential of making ultra solid materials to be used in cutting, etc., on mining sites. Now let's move on to about solar panels. I've personally been interested in solar panels for a long time, and it's predominantly silicon. But there's another material called perovskite that can roll out about over 10 meters of film, solar film, per minute. Perovskite is a calcium titanium oxide material. And these cells are catching up to silicon very quickly, but continue to lag behind in production speed. They're very messy and difficult to produce. By catching up in efficiency, they started 10, 15 years ago at 4%, and now they're over 25%. And now technology has allowed them to be made much faster than you can make silicon solar panels. Silicon's dominated, but the newcomer, perovskite, its efficiency has gone up in the last 10, 12 years to over 20% and catching up to silicon. It's a lot cheaper and more energy efficient to manufacture, but it isn't perfect. It's less stable, so it tends to degrade. But they found a new way to make it stable and at very high speeds. Without going to details, it's also cheap. Researchers estimate the modules could be made from about 25 cents per US, 25 cents per square foot, which is about 1/10 of the price of the silicon cells. Also, the final product has the production, not the laboratory, has got about 18%, which is very close to silicon. And after about half a year, they're still operating at about 16%, which is not bad. And they're working on how to produce it. But they think they could bring this production cost down to 2 cents per kilowatt hour. And then you can make large scale solar farms, as well as putting it on your roofs, floors, whatever. Something to look forward to in a few years. Now, I'm sure everybody has heard of COVID-19. Few researchers looked at it through the lens of, not a camera, a GPS. Cargo vessels, tankers, tugs, etc., are equipped with satellite navigation. They have been for a long time. That's no news. And they use global navigation systems, satellites. These are satellites from multiple countries. And looking at the impact. And Marine Intelligence Company used this data to have a look at cruise ship activity during the pandemic. Cruise ships typically sail about 14, 15 knots, and the average speed dropped to 11 knots. Just went clonk. This is over multiple ships to reduce fuel costs. Drag increases with the square of the speed, maybe a bit more. Air traffic, not surprisingly, reduced a hell of a lot. Global flights reduced by nearly 2/3, while in America, this is looking between March and April, and globally dropped by about 60, 70%. In America, it only dropped about just over 30%. But that could be one of the reasons why the COVID infection is so high in the States. People just travel around and keep spreading it. Anyway, that's my guess. Now, I know all of you are in computers. So very recently, AMD now is totally dominant in the CPU world. Intel is way behind. Fairly recently, AMD reduced the new Ryzen 5000 series CPUs and the 5950X. They've increased the single core performance by about 25%. Previous generations, AMD performance was well ahead of Intel in all but single core benchmarks. In other words, if your application only uses a single core, and most games only a single core. So if you've got 32 cores, the game doesn't give a stuff. It only uses one. Now they increased that by 20%, way ahead of Intel, and the multiple core performance has always been way ahead of Intel. So if you're thinking of buying a new computer in the near future, don't go for Intel, go for the Ryzen. And I'm finishing with a few things that I'm interested in. I'm interested in computers. I'm interested in motorsport. I used to race cars in my youth. And a little bit about Formula E. Formula E is for pure electric cars. And they race around the cities, around the CBD, in the center of the cities. For those who are not familiar, it's all done in one day. The city's blocked off, barriers are put up, they practice on Saturday morning and race on Sunday morning and race during Sunday afternoon. And the FIA, that's a government body for motorsport, has announced that in this coming season, Formula E would be given a world championship status, making it the first single-seater outside Formula One to be given that status. There are many teams which you'll be heard of, who have electric cars, like Mercedes have electric cars, Porsche do, Audi do, Jaguar, they've got a good range of Formula cars. However, the current team's champion is DS Chiquita. For those who haven't heard of it, it's a Chinese team and is owned by the Chinese Media Capital. That's a company that competes in electric cars in Formula E. I've been interested in astronomy for decades and decades, and a new telescope, radio telescope in outback Western Australia, and I mean outback, way ahead, way removed from any radio interference, has created an atlas of the southern sky in record time. In about 300 hours, Australia's precursor to the square kilometre array mapped 3 million galaxies, not stars, galaxies, a million of them which you've never seen before. This will be a great help to astronomers for a variety of reasons. I'll skip a lot of it. But this was done in months rather than, or well, hours rather than years. And this survey is just a test, folks, just a test. And the main scientific program will start being launched in next year, 2021, using this square kilometre array. For those who are not familiar with that, SKA, it's an international project to build the largest radio telescope, eventually covering 1 square kilometre, 1 million square metres of collecting data. It'll operate on big range of frequencies and make it more than 50 times more sensitive than any other instruments. The bulk of these, the array is in Africa, and the rest is in Australia, in Western Territory. It'll exceed the image resolution of the Hubble Space Telescope, and it'll be able to cover a large part of the sky, which no other telescope has achieved that with this sort of sensitivity. 14 countries are involved with 100 organisations. And let's come back to computers. They're going to need at least 2 supercomputers, best supercomputers in the world, that are better than the fastest computer in the world. This is the supercomputers that was operational in 2019. Also, the networking technology will need to see a data flow of 100,000 times faster than the projected global average broadband in 2022. There's 100 organisations out of 14 countries that are taking part, and lots of other details. So this is of what's new, but now I'll come back and show you what's old. Give me while I just quickly share my screen. And can you see the desktop? My desktop?
Yes.
Here's Rock. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Now,
It's all flooded.
yes, I know. I know. It's a climate change. It rained a lot there. Now,
Fake news.
you're quite right. Now, have a look at this. MelbPC. Some of you wouldn't have seen this, probably most. MelbPC, mail at no extra charge. MelbPC proudly announces the addition of email to its comprehensive portfolio of services. You all know all the other services. Membership now includes a single email address for, and this is a bit cut off, for 30 minutes access per day to internet system. We will offer email system, message of the day, news groups, but you don't get internet access to the World Wide Web. So sign up at this swap meet and you will join MelbPC and get a free email address. That's about a quarter of a century old, maybe a little bit older. So it's not new, but MelbPC won the Choice Award for the best ISP for 2 years in a row. And there were about a handful of people that were running it. And basically, that's about it. Now, I've been doing this for 5 years, and it's been a bit of a hassle, and I'd like to call it quits. I've been getting my sources for about 4 or 5 different websites, all of them free, with I think one exception is Cosmos magazine. I subscribe to it. So if anybody wants to put the hand up, drop me an email. I'm George at MelbPC, or george@scarbeck.com.au. Scarbeck's my surname. so that shouldn't be too difficult. If you're finding your way, I might prepare something for you for the, there won't be a January meeting, will there, David?
Whatever the tradition is, hasn't really been thought about. So
Oh, so sorry, there will be
not.
in January. Normally there won't be a December one. Sorry, we have a December. So maybe January.
There's not a January meeting to my knowledge.
No,
not in January.
meeting.
Sorry, not in January. I'm getting my months confused.
Too early in the new year.
Too early, yeah. So look, I might prepare to whoever wants to take over the February one, or do a substantial amount, and give you links to the various sources that I've been collecting information. I've been avoiding putting in what's being announced in lab. There's so much being announced in the lab, but some things don't make it to the market. So I've been getting a variety, a few things that I'm interested in: motorsport, astronomy, computers. I keep slotting those in. You'll have some other interests, but it's not that difficult. Just don't do, in my opinion, don't do too much of the same thing, because you might bore people who are not interested in one thing. So thank you all, and over to our MC. Oh, sorry, I better stop sharing. Apologies. Thanks, folks. I can see a few people clapping. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, George. That's been great work over the years.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, George. It's much appreciated, and I'm sure we've all learnt a lot and marvelled at where technology is going nowadays. Well, we've now reached the stage where I'll hand over to Harry Lewis, who's going to be the iHelp man and help us out with our problems. So over to you, Harry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, George, for wonderful expositions. I can start off by linking with what you told us about the start of the email service somewhere around 1995, because a major motive for what we're involved in at the moment with the new Google service is precisely to protect the future of the email accounts of those faithful members for whom that's been their main email address for anything up to those 25 years. This being the last meeting of the year, I looked back over the year to see what iHelp had been up to. And although we're not quite at the end of the year, I've just dug out a couple of figures which I'm going to copy into the message area. Oh, yes, there we are. I've got to scroll it, haven't I? Just a minute, I can't see it myself. So in the past 11 and a bit months, iHelp has supported 498 members. That is about a third of the membership. So 1 in 3 members has used iHelp. The number of requests for assistance was 1,240. I've put also the figures for the previous year, which are a little bit lower. 2019, 415 members, as against 498 this year. And number of requests for assistance, 928 against 1,240. There are special circumstances in 2020 which mean that there's been more traffic through our inbox, if you like. And just to remind you, because I rather failed to make this legible before, I've been playing with that a bit. I've got to replace it. That's right. I will just put this up now, but I think you all know it. But because I want thinking ahead, because this is the last meeting of the year, iHelp, I'm going to say never sleeps. It's not quite as bad as that, but certainly we don't have a definite stoppage like the office. And I think 1 or 2 members have been helped during, or even on Christmas Day. I'm not wishing to encourage that, everybody, but I thought I might mention that you can access us through indirectly at any time at all. Now on my screen, I'm not really getting all that to show at once, but I hope you can manage to read it. There's the email address, the phone number, there's the web form and the pure chat. Pure chat is mainly for real-time text chat. All the others can operate with a delay. So if you actually phone us on Christmas Day, you might only be leaving a voicemail. But there we are. So far, I haven't received any particular requests for this evening. I do have something up my sleeve, but I'm going to pause and say, well, say two things. Although we're 10 minutes from the magic moment when the Master of Ceremonies tells us it's our bedtime, we are used to staying on a bit after these meetings. So if anyone has anything at all they want to discuss, the shutters won't come down completely at 9 o'clock. So I will pause to allow anyone present to comment or ask anything they want to ask.
Harry,
hello.
My name is Chris Lovelock, and I'm not sure that I need help. I have had some dealings with you in the past, and I've been very happy with the way you've helped me with the problems that we've had with email. This is more a general query than a problem. I have a lot of dealings with Zoom, and I have a query with the use of Zoom. I know how to change the name for a person or a respondent. You're nodding as if you know what I'm going to ask.
Well, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. It's easy to change the name that appears on the screen. You're Harry Lewis at the moment, and I'm Chris Lovelock.
Yeah.
That's easy to do for a session, but how do you do it so that you don't have to, for somebody who comes along as XYZ123, how can they change their name for an ongoing arrangement?
Well, let me not jump in, because I think there are a number of people in this room, in this virtual room, who have a great deal more experience than I do of this. I have a guess what you have to do, but I'm going to pause while somebody else with more knowledge pops in.
Harry, I might make a suggestion, if you can hear me.
Yes.
When you start up Zoom, you've got the opportunity to change some of your settings, and one of the settings is your name. You can actually make a change to your name.
Right, I'm looking at my profile now, and I have the opportunity to edit my name and my display name.
Yep.
As far as I can see, those are the only options I have on the main profile page. But will they do the job?
Yeah, the display name is the one that appears in all the pics. Yeah.
Right. I can also change my personal name to something else if I want to.
Yeah.
But how do you get to that?
Okay. Right. Well, you go. Basically, you open the Zoom app, and you click the familiar cogwheel.
Screen, Harry. Harry, why don't you
okay. Okay, I'll go back just a moment. Yeah, I'll share screen. Right, share screen. I'll just share my whole screen. I think it's usually the quickest thing to do. In fact, I want. Yeah, okay. I think if you're seeing my screen, what I've done is simply open the Zoom app, which I did on the back of having a session running just by asking Windows to open Zoom. So it's in the middle of my screen. Is it visible to everybody?
Your screen is, but I don't see anything relating much to Zoom.
Yeah, we can't see your Zoom app.
There's a white screen, a white thing in the middle, right? I'll full screen it for you.
It's a spreadsheet we can see.
you're seeing a spreadsheet, sorry, then I've got to go back because it picks up the wrong share.
Can't share a Zoom screen.
Yeah, it picked up the wrong screen. Just a minute. I'll give you
Can't share a Zoom screen.
You can share a Zoom screen. You have to click a certain box to do it.
I'm not seeing the actual screen I was just looking at, so I'm going to go to try and share that one. I think my mouse stopped on the way. Do you see a lot of white now?
No, same thing.
Same thing, just the spreadsheet.
It's being perverse because I'm not going. How long will go? But look, in a way, it's not too hard to explain because as long as it's insisting on showing that spreadsheet, I'm not being allowed. I say show all windows. Let's see what happens if I do that. Then I can switch windows. Not that. Are you getting a white window now?
Not yet, but we will.
Any luck?
Not yet.
I don't know what's going wrong, I'm sorry. Because I've just been consistently clicking on the share, the full screen with everything on it. So look, you open the Zoom app if it's not already visible in your taskbar, which it may be. And the top right, there's the familiar cogwheel, right?
Yes.
In fact, I'm going to look at my own, even though you guys can't see it. And you click the cogwheel. That brings up the settings menu.
Yes.
And near the bottom, fourth from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, is profile. You click profile. Up comes a choice of 3 options, the top of which is edit my profile. You click that. And it actually opens a web page. I hadn't noticed that before. So it's a web page on which your profile lives. And it's the top item on this particular, on the menu on the left. Your name is sitting in the middle of the screen, and the tiny word edit is parked on the right in blue. So you click edit. And then you get the freedom, once mine responds, which it hasn't yet. Yes, there we go. So now you get a form. So you get little boxes, and you can change your first name and your last name and your display name. So those are all, as I said just now, those are the only places I can see in the Zoom settings where you can actually change your name.
Well, that sounds very reasonable, Harry, and it sounds as if even the village idiot like me should be able to find that. But so far I have not been able to, but I'll have another look tomorrow. Yeah,
I think the trick is you're not starting from within a session at all. You're starting with the app.
Yes, I understand that.
Which is pretty much what comes up when you get shunted on a computer. I'm talking about computer, of course. When you get shunted from the web page you've just used because of the link, it goes to the app, and that's actually the Zoom homepage, and you'll probably find it on the right of that one, along with all the other. You know, it's not that prominent, the cogwheel, compared with the other things on that little screen.
Okay, thank you, Harry.
Any more? We're very close to 9. Sorry, was that you, Tom? The irrepressible Tom. What can we do for you this week, Tom?
Well, it's a minor nuisance thing. I had a trial of a PDF software, and then they asked me to subscribe, and I cancelled it, and they keep on sending me reminders or specials, but they're sending it as a very small window at the corner of my screen. And I can cancel it by clicking the small cross at the corner. But I can't disable it. It comes back the following day.
Is that coming with emails, Tom, or is it a notification coming through Windows?
No, it's not a notification.
Okay.
It's a window that appears on my screen about once or twice a day, which a very small window in the corner of the screen, and in the bottom right hand corner is square window about say 10% of the screen, and it's a nuisance because every time I have to click the little cross on the top right hand corner to get rid of it, and it keeps on coming with all sorts of specials. Black Friday special, for example, Christmas special, and everything else. You know, they're persistent in trying to get me to subscribe at their bargain offer.
Yeah, Tom, that's annoying, but just ignore it and it'll go away. It'll come back, but just ignore it. It only takes up, I have the same problem. It only takes up about 5% of the screen. It's no big deal. Forget it.
Tom?
Yeah?
Oh, sorry, if it's really annoying you.
Well, it's not really, but...
okay. Well, don't bother. If it's through mail, you can set up a rule to block that email. If it's not an email, if you know the website's coming in, go to the firewall, set up a rule, and you block that URL. Problem's gone forever.
Well, I don't know what URL they use for that little 5% little thing. That's the trouble. They may use another URL. That's the trouble. But then anyway, well, it's not a big nuisance, but yes, Stuart had something.
John, I think John Swale had his hand up.
Another suggestion would be to have a look in Task Manager and see if there is something associated with that particular application that's running. See if it's in the startup and then disable it.
Well, it's not in the startup.
Okay.
It's not in startup? Okay. Is it in Task Manager at all?
Don't know.
Does it happen in all the browsers or only one browser?
I beg you?
Well, I'm following what George said. I'm not sure if it fits your case. Is it happening when you're using the web, or is it just popping up, as it were, from nowhere on your Windows desktop?
I'm not sure. It could be when I'm on the web, or it could be any time.
The point of the web question is, switch your browser and see if it's still happening.
Yeah. Well, it's not.
If it isn't still happening, then clean the browser. You might it may be spyware. So if you use a spyware cleanser, it might get rid of it for you. Just a thought.
Do you have CCleaner in your computer, Tom?
Do
you have CCleaner in your computer?
Well, I can get access to CCleaner.
Well, you can download it for free and maybe run that. That will pick up quite a few of those invasive little buggy things.
Well, it's not. It comes from the source every time. It's not something that is sitting on my computer.
Hey, what did you say? It was a PDF program, Tom?
PDF SAM. The PDF program is called PDF SAM.
PDF SAM. Can you remove it using Control Panel?
What you say?
Can you just remove it using Control Panel, add remove programs?
Well, it's not on the program. Well,
okay.
Well, listen.
Tom, it may be.
All right, thanks.
Try doing a Google search on that.
Yeah.
Harry, I just wanted to make a final comment. George mentioned about how good our original email system was.
Yes.
That was because we had a group of very dedicated people to do it. They were more interested in the servers and everything else. But now I'd like to thank you and your team for being a dedicated group of people serving us in iHelp.
Here, here.
Well, thank you.
Definitely.
Others. There are actually 2 members of the team who are currently still serving on the phone service, who started in 2002. Stuart and I haven't been there quite as long.
Wow.
Thanks very much, Harry. It's 9:05. You said we'd finish at 9 o'clock, but that's fair enough. It was very interesting. I did a quick calculation on your 1240 inquiries, and I know you said you get the odd out of hours thing, but if you just take Monday to Friday, it works out about 6 queries a day, which is a pretty high thing for a voluntary organisation, because the people that are answering those 6 queries a day are giving up their time for other members, and I think that's our motto, members helping mottos. So I can only endorse what the others have said. It's a great system. I've used it a couple of times. I've got to get around to using it again for a problem that I've got. But I must say, when you were struggling with the app there, Harry, I get quite delighted when someone like you that's on the iHelp team has a problem, and I changed the name on my Zoom app quite easily. And I think, gee, you know, maybe I'm not too bad after all, but I'm certainly not volunteering to use to join the iHelp team. I'd be completely lost and make a fool of myself. But look, we'll finish the meeting there, and as Harry said, they'll hang around for a while if anyone wants to have a chat. If anyone else wants to have a chat about anything, I gather that it stays open till everyone's gone to bed. But finally, I'd just like to thank all the committee for running the organisation quite efficiently, I gather. We've certainly had our monthly meetings with the virus when we've all been locked home. So David, thank you to you and your committee. I'm sure you're still working hard behind the scenes, which we can't see. To George for your 5 years and tonight's effort, to Stuart Grunnickley for helping out, and finally Kirsten, thanks very much for your help through the year. You're sort of like a mother hen to me, and helped me out, sort of holding my hand when I needed at times, and I struggled, but you always give me encouragement, and I appreciate your help. So with that, good night. How we'll meet each other next year, I'm not too sure. John Swale, is it the annual meeting next February?
Yes, in February. We're probably going to try and have it as a physical meeting.
Okay, so no doubt you'll let us all know. So with that, thanks everyone. Have a great Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you all next year.